Hello everyone, my name is Iris Franz, and today we're going to talk about market efficiency. So given the assumption of perfect competition, meaning we have many buyers and we have many sellers, then the market outcome will be efficient. So when the market outcome is efficient, it has to satisfy three criteria. First is allocative efficiency, meaning goods and services are allocated to the buyers with the highest value. And the second is productive efficiency, meaning goods and services are produced by the producers with the lowest cost. And three, our economic pie, meaning the sum of consumer surplus and producer surplus, is maximized. So that means you cannot make the economic pie bigger. And today we're going to prove these three criteria. So the first one is allocative efficiency. Why do we want allocative efficiency? Why do we want goods and services to be allocated to the consumers with the highest value? Here's a reason. Because if you have a burger, you want someone who is very hungry to obtain the burger. And the hungry person will appreciate the burger very much. Contrast to giving the burger to someone who just finished his or her lunch, and then that person, the second person, is not going to appreciate the burger as much as the first very hungry person. And therefore, allocative efficiency is a good thing. Now remember, your demand curve reflects the willingness to pay of a consumer. So that means that's the highest price a consumer is willing and able to pay for a product or a service. So suppose you're this consumer, your willingness to pay is here, V1. And V1 is higher than P star. So because your willingness to pay is higher than the price, so you go ahead and buy the product or the service. How about another consumer whose value is V2? Well, that's still higher than the price. So that consumer will go ahead and purchase the product or the service. So you buy it, you buy it, you buy it, you buy it up to the price. Now, if your value is lower than the price, say if your value is V0, that's lower than the price. So if your willingness to pay is lower than the price, you will not buy it. So you can see for all the consumers whose value is higher than the price, they will go ahead and purchase the product. So I know that goods are being allocated to the consumers with the highest value. So we have allocative efficiency. And the second criterion is productive efficiency, meaning goods and services are produced by the producers with the lowest cost. So how do I know the market outcome will achieve productive efficiency? So let's take a look at the cost. So we know that the supply curve reflects the cost of production to the producers. So if your cost is, say, C1, and the cost is lower than the price, so you go ahead and produce that. How about if your cost is C2? You will still produce that because the cost is still lower than the price. If you produce that, the cost is C2, you can go ahead and sell the product or service at the price P star. So it is still worth it. So you produce it, you produce it, you produce it, you produce it, up to the price P star. If your cost is higher than P star, say your cost is here, C3, then it doesn't make sense for you to produce the product anymore because you produce the product at the cost C3, but if you sell it, you can only get P star, which is lower than C3. So you will not produce it. So you produce it, you produce it, you produce it, up to P star. If your cost is higher than P star, you will not produce it. So I know that goods and services are being produced by the producers with the lowest cost. And we have productive efficiency. And the reason why we want productive efficiency is this. Because we want the cost to be as low as possible. Think about that's better for the environment. You use less resource to produce the same good. You don't want to use a lot of resource and make it very costly. And that's why productive efficiency is a good thing. And finally, the economic pie is maximized. So what is our economic pie? If you remember our consumer surplus and our producer surplus. So the consumer surplus is the area below the demand curve, above the price, and the base of the triangle will be from 0 to the equilibrium quantity. So your consumer surplus will be this triangle on the top. And where is your producer surplus? Your producer surplus is the area below the price, above the supply curve. So it's like that. So it's this triangle. And what is your total economic pie? Your total surplus is consumer surplus plus producer surplus. And we know that our total surplus is already maximized. You cannot make it bigger. How do I know? Let's say if we produce a different quantity, say if our quantity is not Q star, but Q1 instead. Then, in that case, your total surplus will be this trapezoid, and this block is lost. Why is that lost? Here's the reason. On this demand curve, we can see this particular buyer, his or her value is here, V1, and the producer, so V1, this producer's cost is C1. So V1 is higher than C1, meaning the buyer's value is higher than the seller's cost. So any price between these two will be a mutually beneficial trade. And unfortunately, because you're producing Q1, this trade is lost, and that trade, so you can see that there is efficiency lost. We call that Dewey loss, which is similar to a piece of economic pie burned in the oven, meaning your oven is not working very well, so you bake a piece of pie and a piece of pie is lost because it's burned. And we call that Dewey loss in economics. So if you change your quantity, you make your quantity less than equilibrium quantity, then we're going to result in Dewey loss, and our economic pie will shrink. So you will ask, what happens if I produce a bigger amount? Wouldn't that be nice? If we produce a quantity that is bigger than Q star, would that be a good thing? Actually, no. So suppose you're producing a quantity, say Q2, that is bigger than equilibrium quantity. Let's see. So you can take a look at that particular unit. The seller's cost is here, C2, and the buyer's value is here, V2. And you can see clearly the value of the buyer, V2, is lower than the cost to the seller, C2. And therefore, you produce this unit, so the seller will say, hey, I have to receive at least the price C2 for me to sell this unit because that's my cost, right? And the buyer will say, no, but you know what? My value is only V2, so I can't pay you such a high price. So there will be no trade. And therefore, you produce that extra unit, it will be wasted because your buyer will not want to buy it. Therefore, that will be a loss, and that unit too, and that unit too. So you can see your Dewey loss will be this triangle, and your economic pie will be equal to that big triangle minus that small triangle, which will cause your economic pie to shrink. Again, it's kind of like a piece of pie burned in the oven. We call that Dewey loss in economics. So we have proven that efficient market outcome given perfect competition will satisfy these three criteria. First, allocative efficiency, meaning goods are being allocated to the buyers with the highest value. Second, productive efficiency, meaning goods are produced by the producers with the lowest cost. You use the least resource, so that's great. Finally, we cannot increase economic pie. Your economic pie is already maximized, meaning any quantity other than equilibrium quantity will cause your economic pie to shrink. So, good luck with your studying. I'll see you next time.